Okay, good evening, YouTube. That was difficult. Fading the music down and fading us up was more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Have we pulled that off? I think we just about have. Guys, good evening. Welcome to this episode of the FPL Family. This is episode number 49, our Gameweek 32 preview video, coming to you a little bit earlier than we normally would. I happen to be travelling with work to Leicester, no less. Leicester. Not to the King Power or anything like that, just to a hotel in Leicester on Thursday. So we can't do our usual Game Week 32 preview in the week. So we're going to do it today. Plenty to update on. Not least, forget it, go home. The Three Lions World Cup is coming home, Sam. Again, Jadon Sancho, Raheem Sterling. We've got the best young players in the world. What is stop?
Harry Kane.
Sancho, Sterling.
Harry Kane.
What is going to stop
Harry
England?
Kane.
Harry Kane, all right, Harry Kane.
Captain.
What is going to stop England winning the Euros? Nothing, as far as I'm concerned.
The hype will stop it.
The hype, absolutely, yes. We'll all get way too excited about England winning anything and it will just come crashing down, as it always does.
Yeah, exactly.
We can at least take some comfort, and I work with a lot of Scots, and I know there's a lot of Scottish people that join the live stream, so we're not going to touch on this very much, but losing away in Kazakhstan, and then 2-0 at San Marino today. I know they won the game, but San Marino... Well, they're going back to their day jobs tomorrow, and they're all going back to school, back to plumbing, back to bricklaying. The San Marino team normally get battered about 10-0, don't they? So,
but in good news, at least Robbo's teeth are fixed.
Robbo's teeth seem to be okay. So, he played today, so the dental work is obviously fine. He's back on the radar for Game Week 32. Everything's fine.
Normal service.
Talk me through, because you were getting... Excited, emotional, lots of other adjectives I can think of. Bit of a tear in your eye listening to Maurizio Pochettino there, addressing the, 65,000 people?
Well, there was only 30 there today. I've gone a bit again now, look, you've mentioned...
Oh my God. Oh God. The new stadium, guys, for Spurs is open for business. They had a practice game.
Look.
Are you kidding me? Are you serious now?
This is the second time it's happened because I've watched that stupid interview with Pochettino and now I'm all emotional.
He's leaving for Madrid in the summer.
Oh, shut up!
Come on.
Why? You're so horrible.
Why are you getting emotional about it? Oh, because Poch is such a nice man, isn't he?
Well, it's the whole thing. Oh, look. It's the whole thing. It's like the whole stadium and the emotion of it. And they were going home.
It's not as if you've been waiting long enough for it. Do you know what I mean? It's been, oh God.
And I'm going in a couple of weeks and everything.
Thank God we can all stop talking about it now and you can actually play some bloody football there.
We won.
What happened today? Go on, talk us through it.
Yeah, we won, didn't we?
And Pochettino was, I don't want to set you off again, for goodness sake, but Pochettino was addressing the crowd and talking about how emotional he was. And I must admit, guys, I saw the interview, and if you haven't checked it out yet, go onto Twitter, I'll retweet it and have a look at it. Pochettino does come across very genuine, very, he's excited to be home.
Because the man's a hero.
He's, all of that about, he's going to Old Trafford, he's going to Row, he's going to this, he's going to that. I must admit, watching that interview, guys, I'm not convinced. I think he's delighted that the stadium's opening. And what a stadium. It looks absolutely fabulous, doesn't it?
I'm so excited.
When are you going? For Brighton game?
Brighton, yeah.
So when is that?
A couple of weeks' time. It's one of the rearranged midweek games.
Okay, all right. So Steve Wynyard is in. Steve, good evening. He's saying, new stadium, congrats Spurs on that 5th place finish that you're going to get this season.
Up, where's the mods? Block.
Half Pint says the new stadium does look incredible.
Steve.
Yeah, absolutely. Chancellor's here. FPL Chancellor, welcome. Good evening.
Dan.
On the train, but good for the next half an hour or so. Going to the new Spurs stadium next Saturday. Very good.
Yeah, for the next test game, the Legends game.
That's not the Brighton game then?
Well, Saturday is this coming Saturday, and they've got the Legends playing. I think Gazza's playing and everything.
Gazza?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They got the Spurs Legends versus
wow.
I think it's AC Milan Legends.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there we go. Well, guys, look, we're going to say hello to a few people. We've just started there, but I've realised in doing so, I've hastily not moved to this screen here. I need to move to this screen here. And tell us what you thought, guys, in the comments of the music. I've been trying to figure out how we do the music in the sort of the we're about to go on holding page, because up to now it's just been silent. And I thought, I'll just find some free music on Spotify and play it. If you liked it, guys, I'll carry on doing it. If you thought it was really cheesy and guff, I'll take it off. But it seemed to work all right.
Some of the things I had to listen to before we found that one.
Oh, I've listened to some absolute rubbish in the last couple of days.
What is this?
Well, if you go to Spotify and find, copyright-free music, it's a Pandora's box, guys, of all sorts of stuff. Absolutely, could have had a bit of heavy metal coming on.
Why didn't we just ask if there's any musicians around that can help us out?
We could have done. Absolutely could
Somebody
have done that.
in that live chat guaranteed has got musical talent.
I think you could be right. You could be right. There's a few people come on and saying there's music. There's music. Actually, there's no music right now because we thought, and again, I might do it in the future. I might put like a little bit of music sat on the back behind us. I don't know. Do you want to do that?
What? I mean, it's getting a bit much now, isn't it?
I don't know. One step at a time, guys. One step at a time. We'll do the music in there.
We did the guest appearing. Now he's got music. I don't know what's going on.
Josh Telling says you should ask George Ezra. Yes, absolutely. We had a great night there, didn't we, the other night? Fantastic. He's absolutely brilliant. If you haven't had a chance to go and see him live, you absolutely should. He's brilliant.
In fact, his old music from school probably isn't copyrighted. He probably could use that.
Possibly. Yes, possibly. So talk us through, Sam, talk us through, before we say hello to everybody and we talk about polls and what we're going to do and all that sort of stuff. Give us a review of it. Are you all right?
No, I'm a bit emotional.
You've gone, haven't you?
Totally
the Spurs Stadium is completely thrown you, isn't it? Do you want me to say hello and then talk about the international football, or do you want to go international football first of all?
International football? No, I could talk about international football.
So what's been going on? Give us a view. Except for, obviously, England is coming and we're going to win the World Cup, and Sterling hat-trick, etc., etc. Don't think I want to talk about Sterling too much, because if you're not getting him in your free hit team, you're not getting him in your Gameweek 32 team.
Him?
If you're thinking about triple captaining him, absolutely a very, very good option.
More triple captains out there than free hits this week so far.
Could be, yes. Well, I saw that actually. And I saw a tweet actually. You're quite right to point this out. I saw a tweet, guys, and I retweeted it earlier, talking about the fact there was something like 80,000 free hit chips being played by FPL managers this week in Gameweek 32.
So far.
And of course that's bound to go up, isn't it? A bit as we reach the deadline. Of course.
Waiting for.
But 80,000 to me doesn't seem like a lot, given that the game has got, I don't know, 5.5, 6 million or whatever. And I think there was a tweet out that said it was, less than 0.1% of managers are playing their free hit. So that just goes to show you guys.
Still double what was on last week when I.
Well, it is. Yeah, it is still double, but it goes to show you that it's the Twitter sphere that we're in. This sort of and your Instagram community, the Twitter community, is but a small proportion of the overall game. And here I am, and I've had a little bit of a change of heart about my free hit, guys, which I'll talk to you about later on.
What?
A bit of a change of heart insofar as I was all about the differentials. I just wanted to get as many low-owned players as possible. And don't get me wrong, I will be throwing a couple in there. I'll be talking about them a bit later on. And I did talk about some of them on the Ohana podcast last Friday. But I'm starting to wonder whether I need to be a bit, just playing your free hit is enough of a differential. The fact that you're going to have 11 double game weekers and actually maybe sticking a bit more to the template is maybe the right thing to do. I don't know. To be discussed.
I mean, I must admit, when I saw those stats, and all right, things are going to change, obviously, over the next week, because I haven't played my triple captain yet on the basis that I'm just waiting for the internationals to be over before I play the chip. But I was surprised to see more triple captains than I was to see free hits this week. That shocks me. And it's kind of made me think, well, actually, there was me, wrongly. Well, I say wrongly, but we are still only talking about 120k's worth of triple captains, and they won't all be on Sterling. Some will go on Aguero, probably. They'll probably all be on City, pretty much. But there was me thinking it was going to be a real differential thing to be doing this week, but actually, it's not as much of a differential as I thought it might be.
Well, possibly. All right, let's get into the live chat and say hello to a few people. If you're playing your chips this week, if you're free hitting, let us know who your key differentials are. If you are triple captaining, let us know who your triple captain is. I think you're right. I mean, mostly City. I think mostly so. City. I think it'd be bonkers not to, frankly. It'd be bonkers not to. Let's say hello to a few people. Varun is in. How are you doing, Varun? Welcome to the live stream this evening. Mike Gascoigne is here. How are you, Mike? Josh is in. Josh Telling. Josh, good evening. How are you doing? Scott Schrager from our Patreon is here. So, Scott, thank you for joining us. Stealth Panda is here. Ken's from Twitter. So, Stealth Panda, thank you for joining us. Viali Wright is here. Former manager of the month, I think, Viali Wright. Spencer Lee is here. Eric Lord. FPL Lawyer is here. Shuvik is here. Thank you very much for joining us, Shuvik. Let's see who else we've got in. Spencer Lee, I think we've mentioned that. Leo is in and moderating. How are we doing, Leo? Very good to see you. Toxic Fusion is here. Neil Craston is here. FPL Chancellor we mentioned before. Half Pint. Jeff is here. Jeff and moderating. Good evening, Jeff. And a couple more. Chris Spencer is here. And Michelle is here. So we've got 158 of you in. Guys, thank you very much for joining. Given that we have got quite a bit of time before the next FPL game week, I was kind of wondering whether we ought to do this tonight or not. But I thought, well, 2 weeks is too long to go with no live stream. We've got a live stream somewhere, and 8 o'clock Sunday night feels the right time to do it.
And given that if we don't live stream now, then you can't really talk about your free hit at all, because by the time we next stream.
It'll be too late. It'll be in.
Well, the game week will be
yeah,
finished. Well, it will be midway through the double game week, won't we? By Sunday night.
Absolutely, and I'm getting there, guys. I'm slowly getting there. I think at first I was quite keen on building, a reasonably solid squad, because I felt like I had enough money to do that. But all of a sudden, there's a couple of big hitters that I want in my side, and because of that, there's a couple of real cheapies.
Just be aware that Hazard is playing with Belgium at the moment.
He just scored. He just scored.
But with Belgium.
Yes, I know.
And not with Chelsea.
I know.
Sorry, Tips, if you're in. Sorry.
And I don't know if you've
Chelsea
seen.
Fans.
I don't know if you saw the highlights of the Belgium and Russia game, right? So Hazard got 2, Tielemans got a goal, Batshuayi got an assist. Hazard was phenomenal. There's a thing that went viral on Twitter pretty soon after the game of this like mid-air flick pass that he did. It was just like, hello, that's a bit of it was like gravity defying. It was a totally different Eden Hazard to what we're seeing at Chelsea right now.
Totally different. Well, the Belgium team are great.
Yeah, and they've got the manager that obviously believes in the philosophy, and Martinez is doing the right things, right?
Yeah.
So, but nevertheless, Hazard did get 2, scored again tonight, and I think I saw in the live chat that Batshuayi might have got a goal as well tonight. I don't know if I've got that right, guys. You'll be able to tell me whether that's right or wrong. But goals for Hazard, goals for Batshuayi tonight. I think Vertonghen got a start as well tonight, so that's something to keep an eye on. But in terms of a international roundup,
playing you next. Christ, we have to play a full strength team.
You will need him against us. I'm pretty sure that you will. The Netherlands played Belarus. Virgil scored. Wijnaldum scored. I don't think any of us are necessarily looking at Ginny or probably not Virgil van Dijk unless you're not on a free hit. You maybe bring him in. I don't know.
I can't hear that man's voice without that song going around in my head.
The Virgil van Dijk song. Yeah, it's a great song, isn't it? You love that song. You love that song.
He needs a better song.
Nevertheless, that is now something like, I don't know, what is it, guys? Like 5 in 3 or 6 in 4 for Virgil van Dijk. It's like loads of goals recently. Loads of goals. And then, of course, England played the Czech Republic. Sterling 3. Kane got 1. And then I was scribbling it down. I couldn't remember who got the other one. Who got the other goal? 3 for Sterling, 1 for Kane, and 1 for... Couldn't remember. It doesn't sound like you can remember either.
I just remember going mental about Sterling and really didn't care whatever.
Sterling's second goal was beautiful, wasn't it?
And Sancho played really well as well.
Sancho played very well. Yes, very, very well.
And Kane was a legend.
Oh, it was an own goal, guys. You're absolutely right. As it was an own goal, Josh, own goal.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Right.
That's why I've written it out. It was an own goal, yeah. Felt sorry for the poor bloke, really.
Wales played Slovakia earlier today. I think Brooks played an hour but then got subbed off, so not much to report from that game. Netherlands are playing Germany tonight. Virgil's playing. Wijnaldum's playing. Babel's playing. I think Ben Davies did play, yes. And Sané is playing for Germany. So there are a few games
he is playing.
Going on.
He's not badly injured.
Sané is playing. Yes, is playing.
On
the end of a horror tackle.
Horrible.
On the end of a horror tackle. But he came out on Twitter, I think, quite early on, or quite quickly after that, and said, "It's fine. I'm good."
Yeah.
But the replays, it was a pretty bad one. One. But nevertheless, Sané is fit and playing this evening. So look out for that, guys. Even as we are live streaming, key FPL assets are playing, not least the likes of Sané, Hazard, Vertonghen, and Batshuayi, who I'm absolutely looking at. So keep an eye on that. And if there's any goals, if there's any incidents, injuries, touch wood, there's not injuries. If there's anything goes on, guys, we're relying on you to keep us updated in the live chat. So thank you for doing that.
Can't cope with any injuries.
Yeah, can you imagine if somebody like a Hazard or I don't know, some other big player like, I guess Sterling's getting rolled out against Montenegro tomorrow night, as is Kane.
Can't have any of them injured.
Rip up your free hit teams and start again.
Never mind you. At least you could start again. I can't, can I?
That's true. Yes, very true. Very true. Guys, head to the polls in the top right-hand corner. The little eye. Click on that. We've got, I think, 4 questions for you this evening. One from Rushil, as ever. Rushil sending in awesome.
He loves it. He loves a poll question, doesn't he, Rushil?
Absolutely spot on. He actually sent quite a few good ones today, and I was a bit like, well, I can only really... I've got to be fair to everybody else. I've got to be fair. I can only pick one, Rushil. So Rushil sent in, if you're going to triple up on City, which I think the general feeling is free hit, treble up. Even if you're in a not free hit, you're going to be bringing City players in. What? Not trebling up? Okay, well, listen. Let's assume you've got a free hit in 32 and you're trebling up. Do you go for 2 attack, 1 defence, 2 defence, 1 attack, all-out attack with 3 attackers, or some other strategy? Right, that's the question Risha wants answered. A very good question because...
Is hide behind a sofa one of them?
How many are you going to have?
One.
Just one, City.
I mean, it's got...
Fulham and Cardiff.
I've got... Well, yeah.
But you are going to triple captain that one.
I am going to triple
Absolutely.
captain
All
that
right,
one.
Very good. All right. Second question also from Russia, but from a few other people. Kane in, yes or no for game week 32?
It's the kind of question I like, Rashil.
I knew you'd like it. That's why I put it in there. Kane in, yes or no? And in a similar vein, Nikhil Sriram, sorry Nikhil if I've said that wrong, at Cynical on Twitter says Hazard, yes or no? Hazard, yes or no? We've touched on it a bit already. Form woeful for Chelsea. Form excellent for Belgium. If he can translate his form over the last 10 days back into that double game week for Chelsea, we've got a player on our hands for the double game week. However, he could go back to Stamford Bridge and he could be sarried again, couldn't he? He could be very sarry. There we go. And then the last question was, of course, captain for game week 32. So I want to know who your captain's going to be. Whether it's a triple captain or not, I haven't put triple captain because, like we mentioned before, there's not many people actually playing the chip. But who are you going to captain for game week 32? And your usual suspects are in there: Aguero, Sterling, Kane, and Hazard, I think, or somebody else. I think those are the main four, aren't they? I can't think of too many others.
You have to be quite brave, I think, to captain Hazard.
I would think you would have to be pretty brave.
Yeah, maverick. It's a maverick
pretty brave.
pick for captain.
If to go outside of City, I think he's pretty brave. Pretty brave. There's our Twitter on the left-hand side, guys, at FPL Family. You can head over to Instagram, at FPL Family as well over there if you want to talk to Sam. If you're a Patreon, patreon.com/FPL Family. A couple of new patrons this week. Neil Craston's joined us. Neil, thank you for becoming a patron. And Bryce as well. Bryce Larson has joined us as well. So guys, thank you for becoming new patrons. And guys, neither of you in the Slack yet. So get in on the Slack. There's 30
Neil
people. Is Neil in the Slack? Mm-hmm. I stand corrected. Neil is in the Slack. But Bryce, come on over to the Slack. It is now open. If you need some help getting in there, let me know. Good little community we're building there. Good fun, isn't it? Good fun. A little bit quiet the last few days, but then we're in a bit of a lull, aren't we? We're in a bit of a lull, FPL lull. It'll ramp up again as we get towards the free hit.
I'll put some Sam stats out there this week. That'll get them all talking.
That will get them talking. That will get them talking. So guys, all the links to all of our social media, all of our other platforms are down in the description below, so go check it out. Right, let's have a look at these fixtures, Sam. We're not going to go through. I don't think we've got time to go through.
Can't go through.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't even fit them on the screen. Right? I can't even fit them on the screen. There's so many.
15.
We haven't got time to go through 15. But what I do want to do is talk about where the main FPL talking points are going to be. So let's address that question that we've got in the poll. And guys, just mentioned it in the poll. Your City strategy going into 32. You've already mentioned that you've got just Sterling going into 32. Yeah. Tell me how you're feeling about that. Are you hiding behind the sofa?
Yep.
What is going on?
I'm not feeling hugely great about it. However, I have quite substantial issues for 33 in terms of getting a team out because it's not gone the FA Cup fixtures. Had they gone the other way, I'd have had a nice.
You wanted Millwall to knock Brighton out, for example, didn't you?
Yeah, and then I'd have had Brighton and Spurs, and then I'd have been set for Albion Mate. As it's gone, I've not really got enough, so I need to have at least 2 transfers, probably 3 for next week.
Which would be a -8, I guess.
Well, I'll roll this week.
Right,
then I've got, it's a -4.
Okay.
But that means going into this game with only 1 City asset, which I don't feel that great about. However, I'm kind of trying to decide what I feel worse about. Whether I feel worse going into next week, 33, with 9 players, or going into this one. It would only be a defensive change anyway, so it would be a City defender.
33 was always going to be a challenging week, wasn't it? If you're going to free hit in 31, 33 was always going to be a challenging week. I think the strategy behind free hit in 32, which I'm doing, a lot of the guys are doing, is that you build that team for 31, knowing that a lot of those players, as guff as they might have been in 31, and frankly, it was awful game week, a lot of them are coming back in 33, so we feel like our squads are in reasonable shape despite the lack of form from some of the players. But 33 is always going to be a bit of a challenge.
It was always going to be a challenge for me if the FA Cup fixtures went the wrong way. So if they went the right way, I'd have had 11 players out. If Spurs and Brighton had been playing, if that game had been on, I'd have been fine. And then if when they set the other fixtures that they had left over, so there was that other Brighton, they were originally talking about putting Brighton versus someone else in 33, but instead that's gone into 34.
Okay.
Or 35, I can't remember now. If that had gone into 33, I'd have also been fine because I'd have had a full team out.
So talk to me about Man City then as a team for game week 32. You've got just Sterling.
Yeah.
I'm going to be going all out attack, guys, right now. And that would be, if I was answering the poll, that's how I would answer. I absolutely think there is more than enough merit and credit in having at least one Man City attacker, and even if you wanted to go two with one attacker, absolutely fine. And if I was going to do that, I think I would look at the goalkeeper Edison. I'd be looking at Laporte for sure, given that he's the only left-footed centre-half they've got. I don't think I'd be looking at anybody else. I mean, I was looking at Zinchenko only to find out that he's a midfielder in the game, actually. So you're not going to touch him with a barge pole, I don't think. Kyle Walker, if you want to go proper differential, with a potential assist, yes, maybe. But for me, I just think those fixtures, the Fulham and the Cardiff games, City must be going into those games thinking we have got some serious goals to score here. And not only that, they're going to make probably goal difference not even a thing. I think City are already about 6, 7, 8 in front of Liverpool, something like that. So they're already ahead. Now we've got to play Spurs at Anfield, which I'm predicting to be a cagey game. We'll come to that a bit later on. The FPL Family derby, which we know and love in this household.
No, we don't.
I'm expecting that to be a cagey game.
It's Mother's Day, remember? Don't upset me.
Yes, I know. But I'm not expecting either of the City games to be cagey. I mean, Fulham have been a bit better at Craven Cottage recently against Chelsea and against Liverpool. They showed a bit more... they're a bit more resolute potentially. But I still think all-out City is where I'm going to go. And right now, I'm on Sterling, Aguero, and David Silva with Aguero as captain. That's what I'm thinking.
Great.
If you want a free hit, how would you play it?
Exactly the same way you are.
You'd go all-out attack as well. You don't fancy Laporte or Edison, something like that? Edison, clearly not.
No. If I was playing a free hit, I would do Aguero, Sterling and Bernardo Silva.
Bernardo Silva. What's your thinking on Bernardo Silva versus David Silva? I appreciate David Silva's not in brilliant form right now. On his day, he can do anything, but I must admit that's a reservation I've had about putting him in my team is that I don't feel like he's in blistering form, whereas Bernardo Silva... probably going to get that game time. He's been in there and doing the good stuff while De Bruyne and a few others are out. And he scored a beautiful goal against Schalke.
He's a bit more ticking over, I think, Bernardo Silva for me. He would have been the one that I would have gone for, based on the fact that he's a cheaper option as well. Both the Silvers are, aren't they? In terms of getting in the third City. They just offer a little bit more. And I think that's what it's going to come down to for me, guys. And tell us in the live chat if you agree or disagree, guys. What is your strategy for Man City in Gameweek 32? A lot of it for me is going to come down to, do I need that extra million to do something else in my free hit team? If it means that I could have, Hazard over Ali or Ericsson or something like that, then maybe I would think about that if I'm going to have Kane, which I might do. And if I was going to do that upgrade and I needed that million, then maybe I would use that million. Don't see any Kane in that free hit team. I'm just buying that. Not yet. No, not yet. Not yet. So that is my City strategy, but I can absolutely see why people are looking at the defence, because I can't imagine. My issue is this: I can't get another. So I'm quite I say that I'm struggling at the moment because I've got obviously Kane up top. Given that I'm on free hit, I'm not on a free hit. The only way to get Aguero would be to lose Kane. Well, that's never happening. Mm-hmm. I don't want to lose Jimenez or Rashford really, unless we get word that Rashford is really out, and it's not just a international breakout. Well, let's talk about Manchester United in just a second, because I must admit I'm kind of waiting on tender hooks for not just Rashford news, but Lukaku news as well. So we'll come to that in a second. Before we do, let's see what you guys are saying about Manchester City in the live stream, because there were some quite conflicting thoughts here, which I like that. I like that when we get a bit of discussion going. Neil Crasting is saying Bernardo played for Portugal. Yeah, absolutely. At a time when David Silva is not playing for the Spanish international team. So there was a comment in here, Neil again, right? So surely David Silva will play both games. He doesn't play international games anymore. He's going to be well rested in the same way that Aguero has been over the last couple of weeks. So again, I have factored that into my thinking. There's just no rhyme or reason with Pep's rotation though. So you can factor all of this stuff in, but Pep will do what Pep wants. Yeah, I must admit, I think maybe last week or a couple of days ago, thought about Mahrez, right? I mean, Mahrez is so lowly owned. Pep will do what he wants. Then I thought, well, actually, Mahrez, in a point of the season when Pep might be looking to give players like this a game, right? And at a time, I know they need to win, I know they need to score as many goals as possible, but as long as he trusts those players, and some of them I'm not sure he does, Mr. Sané, I'm looking at you. But with players like Mahrez, I just wonder whether it might be the sort of one of those fixtures he might come in. Nevertheless, the 3 Man City slots in our free hits for 32 for us free hitters are
prime real estate in our teams.
Sure.
There's no doubt. And I don't think you would want to waste, inverted commas, one of those spots on a risk like Mahrez.
I agree.
Even though both the Silvers could be considered risks as well.
I am tempted by another City defender this week. Because my issue is I just can't get the way that my team is set up to get through the next few game weeks. I don't have the scope to put in another City attacker, because it would mean taking out a player who's on a double already, or one that is playing next week, and I don't really want to do that because that puts me in a worse position for next week. So it would have to be a defender. It would probably be a Doherty swap out for a City defender, but we'll see.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing yet.
Okay, Brian Springer is saying, Brian, good evening, welcome. He's saying, exactly, Sam, exactly. Good luck trying to figure out what Pep's going to do, Lee. The only safe player is Ederson. He's the only one to go for. Mahmood Khan is saying, playing a free hit, got the City triple up, including Ederson, and a few nice differentials in there, including Lingard. So let's move on then to Manchester United. I think of all the teams that we are considering for our free hit, yes, we are considering Man City. I think a lot of players, a lot of FPL managers are also considering the Manchester United double up, treble up even. I think double up, is pretty nailed on, but treble up looks good as well. And I think a lot of managers are looking at that because of the teams that they are playing. Now, on paper, it looks pretty difficult. Watford at home, I think, is a nice game. Wolves away is a very tricky game. Mm-hmm. However, both of those teams are going to have one eye on the cup. Like, they play each other in the semi-final. So I think on that basis, and by the way, both of those teams will be all out to win that. All out. I mean, a trip to Wembley on a one-off game, and they're probably going to be playing City, okay? I mean, it could be Brighton, absolutely. But if they're playing City, one-off game, they're going to put absolutely everything into that. And I, for one, think that Nuno Espirito Santo in particular will be rotating that Wolves squad. So what do you think about Manchester United and their assets? If you were free hitting in 30... Well, let me ask you this question first. Who's in your team?
I've got 3.
You have got the 3 already? Okay.
Yeah, so I've got Lindelof. Apparently his wife's about to give birth.
Yes, I noticed that. You're normally all over the childbirth stuff.
Literally.
Is he? How close is she?
Gameweek 32, she's due.
Oh, she's literally due on the day.
Absolutely, she can do one. Can't she do what was the? I was watching the news the other day, and I can't remember what team the guy played for now. But anyway, he was playing. It was on a night game, Tuesday night or something.
Yeah.
And his wife went into labour with their twins, and she said she didn't want to tell him, like, leave him play. And he's in the goal. He's in goal, I think. He was the goalkeeper.
Was it Ederson?
Huh?
Was it Ederson?
No, it wasn't a Premier League player.
Oh no, okay.
And this was last week, and so he didn't know. He came off the pitch.
Beautiful.
She let him celebrate the win and everything, and she didn't tell him until he got in the car. And she went, "Don't go home. Come to the hospital. The girls have arrived." He'd had twins while he was on the pitch.
So
Lindelof's wife needs to do that.
Lindelof's wife is due any minute.
So
on that basis,
don't.
And you've got to pick you're picking your free hit team.
I can't.
I know you are, but if you were free hitting, then
go small in.
What would your thoughts be? Avoid Lindelof because of that.
Probably.
Yeah, I think I would too. I'll be honest. I think for more or less the same money, you can have Smalling or Shaw, although you've got to be careful with Shaw because he's got 9 yellow cards, I think. If he picks one up, he's obviously banned. So what's your thoughts on Manchester United defence? Or do you want to go all out attack with those guys?
I've got Lindelof, Pogba and Rashford. Okay. Now, obviously, Rashford is so this is another thing, isn't it? That Rashford's flagged in the game on the basis that he's no longer with England. What do you know about that? So I'm waiting on news for him, because this is my other problem with the City assets. I totally agree with everything you said about City, just finishing off on that. But I've got other things that may be a bigger issue that I've got to deal with. So yeah, Pogba I think is he's nailed on. He's not going anywhere. Rashford,
I think he's a bit of a shield pick, Pogba, isn't he? And I must admit, I've deviated away from him. I've wavered on him a little bit. He's a very shield pick, yeah. Simply because when I was in a week ago, I've got to go for 11 differentials. I was like, well, who am I taking taking Pogba out for? Somebody then, aren't I? I've since had a little bit of an epiphany as I go through. It's since seeing that tweet, that actually 80,000 are playing their free hit, and actually just playing your free hit is enough of a differential. I've sort of calmed my FPL brain down a little bit and gone, well, no, actually, Pogba is a very good pick. And even if you are chasing like I am, I still think he's a good pick.
And this is the other thing about City and Man United, is that because so few people are playing their free hits, there will be most of the game that will not have 3 City players and will not have 3 United players. So the fact that I have 3 United players puts me in a decent position, and it makes me worry a little bit less about my not having 3 City players.
Sure, and as Dom J is saying, welcome Dom, he's saying the Prezers absolutely vital. The press conference is vital for Man U, absolutely right. And Jared C is saying, did you see that assist from Pogba for France for Griezmann the other night? Did you see that?
No, I didn't know.
Oh, God, you've got to see it. Absolutely
Let's
unreal
just
from Pogba.
Let's hope Solskjaer comes out and says, Lindelof's wife's had a baby on Tuesday or something, and then I'm done.
Well, I think as much as Lindelof, we're all looking and waiting for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to come out with Rashford news and indeed Lukaku news. Yeah. So, if both of those guys are declared fit for the game week and you're on a free hit, how would you play that? Who would you go for, Lukaku or Rashford? What do you think?
I think budget...
Given that there's 4 million or so between them, right?
And I think budget would dictate you go Rashford, because I think you're looking at that going, you want Sterling, you want Aguero, you probably want one of the expensive Spurs, so you want Ali, Eriksen or Kane, you want Hazard, you probably want another City player, so that's going to cost you 6, 7, 8, depending upon which position you go for.
Sure.
So by the time you've got all of those key ones that you want, plus then there'll be other... not so expensive, but decently expensive options that you want from other clubs as well. Potentially, I suppose, Arsenal maybe. Although they've only got 1 game week, that's quite a decent fixture. So by the time you've fixtured all of that in, can you afford to have Lukaku as well?
I think that's what it's going to come down to, isn't it? It is a budget thing. If you want to have Kane, Hazard, Sterling, Aguero, and I think a lot of people are going for Sterling, Aguero. I mean, that eats up a lot of lot of your budget. And then absolutely a lot of people are looking at Hazard as well, with good reason. If you look at the last 2 international games, maybe with not so much of good reason looking at Chelsea's recent form. Yeah. But the player is absolutely still the player, and he is world class. There's no doubt about it, Hazard. And on his day, he can put teams like Cardiff and Brighton at home to the sword. I mean, you can't argue with those fixtures whatsoever.
No, you definitely can't.
So if you're thinking about those 3, and then you want to put somebody else big in there as well, then I'm afraid Mr. Lukaku probably doesn't get a look in. Unless, like me, you're chasing. And it is something I have considered, because right now I'm looking at Kane, and we'll talk about my free hit a bit later on and how it stands. But right now I am looking at a possible way to get Kane in. But if Lukaku is, and that would be without Rashford, by the way, that would mean I'd be playing 4-4-2 with Aguero and Kane. Now,
does not sound bad to me at all.
If Lukaku is fit, then I will have a bit of a choice to make between Kane and Lukaku, I think. But we'll see. Steve Wynyard is in, and he's given us a super chat. Thank you, Steve. He's saying Spurs fixtures are bad, so do we need Spurs? Well, there we go. Let's go there next. The Spurs fixtures.
Opening game at the new stadium.
Well, listen,
do we need Spurs?
It is an interesting. I think Steve is in good form. Is he
trying to wind me up?
Quite possibly. Not the first time for Steve, winding you up. He loves a bit of winding up.
Because I said I wanted him blocked earlier, isn't it?
Is that what it is? So Steve has come on and said, Spurs fixtures are bad. Do we need Spurs? Now, listen, Liverpool away, yes, I think you could easily class that as a bad fixture for Spurs, because that is a very difficult game. Not lost there all season and conceded 5 or 6 goals there all year. So, yes, going to Anfield is a very difficult game. But Spurs at home to Palace in the new stadium, Steve? I mean, come on, that doesn't get much better than that, does it? Based on what we've seen today from Pochettino, clearly there's a lot of emotion. It's not going there again. A lot of emotion around, this new stadium. Been waiting long enough for it. The build-up's going to be there. I hate to ask you this question, but are Spurs going to crumble under the pressure?
Oh, shut up.
Or are they going to...
Shut up!
Are they going to crumble under the pressure? Or are they going to absolutely smash Palace out the park? What's your view?
Smash you out the park if you're not careful. Crumble under the pressure. Dear, oh dear.
Go on then.
We'll be fine. They're doing a whole opening ceremony. Fans have been asked to get there at 4:45.
To build the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's going to be
free Balti pies, is there? I suppose.
Women love the Balti pies. So that's one of the things I'm so excited about. One of our friends asked on Facebook on the Spurs post if there was Balti pies were coming back. They are. Buzzing.
Jamal's in tonight. He says Palace will beat Spurs.
Oh, Jamal, take your Palace goggles off.
What says you?
Palace goggles off.
Jamal, take his Palace goggles off. Yeah. You've got Spurs goggles permanently on.
Well, that's all right.
Come on, give us your thoughts on the game. So you've got Kane in your team right now, right?
And I've got Lloris.
And Lloris, okay.
So in answering Steve's question in honesty, I think, partly you're right. Going to Liverpool is very tough. Palace at home we always win 1-0. We always seem to beat Palace 1-0. If you look at the stats, it's just always 1-0. 1-0 Spurs.
Okay.
Boring games.
Do we want that from a free hit? Do we want Kane in for a 1-0? Not really.
No, but I just think that if there's ever going to be a game where those big lads turn up, it's going to be that game. But we also have to. We have to go out to get something from that game against Liverpool. So for me, that would say that you have a Spurs attacker because somebody will score at Anfield. They will. It's not going to be. You're not going to beat us 2-0 or something ridiculous. We will score in that game. I
love the FPL Family derby. I just love it. I hate it and love it at the same time because the atmosphere in here. You'll cut it with a knife. Is it Sunday afternoon? It's gonna be savage, isn't it? Mother's Day,
the best one was when we beat you really badly at Wembley that time, and I just sat there in absolute silence.
I just got that out of my head. That was when Lovren retired, wasn't it?
Because because genuinely, I thought if I said something, I'd get a barrage of abuse. So I just sat there mute for the whole 90 minutes while Lee just went bonkers on the other sofa.
Kane absolutely retired Lovren that day. It was unreal, and Moreno was just like a lost little schoolboy who was just looking around. Oh, what should I do? That was absolutely awful.
That game was only just pipped in my memory of Spurs Liverpool games by the one in February last year, where at Anfield, where you scored late. I stormed off into the kitchen at my mum's in a strop because you'd gone absolutely mental and I thought it was disrespectful.
Salah penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah, only for Kane then to get a penalty.
Salah got the goal and then because Salah scored on like 90, 91.
I stormed off because you've been so rude.
And someone kicked. Lamella dived in the box. Basically,
excuse me.
Lamella dived.
That's defamation of character. That is.
I got a feeling it was Lovren again, wasn't it?
Probably
Lovren. So listen, guys, the FPL Family Derby is on.
Should we live stream it? Live stream our reactions?
No, we absolutely shouldn't. And to be honest, it's huge. It's a huge game. We can't afford to lose that. Liverpool can't lose that. And you can't afford to lose that either. I'll be honest.
It's got 0-0 draw all over it, hasn't it?
Well, I personally think it's going to be cagey. But I do think that Pochettino and Spurs will come to get something.
Of course,
I think you will come to get something. And because of that, it will leave space in behind. And I do think your fullbacks, I think your centre-halves are very, very good. But I do think your fullbacks sometimes look a bit exposed. And the way that Mane's playing right now, the sort of stats that Salah's posting, let's not go back to Salah after last game week. But I do think we are a very, very good side at home. But listen, it'll be a difficult game.
This may be the last FPL Family stream.
It could be it.
If we're not here again on Sunday, you know it's because we've killed each other during that match.
So having said that, say you don't get anything at that Liverpool game. Say Liverpool win that game at Anfield. You're then home in the new stadium against Palace. Got to win. Pressure.
Kane.
It's so Spurs goggles. So my view on it, because I thought I was going to get some statistical analysis and some reasoned contribution from you, but you've just gone, Kane is a legend, and that's basically it.
No, so if I was free hitting, would I have... Okay, so ask me it in a different way.
Give me your thoughts on Ali and Eriksen.
If I was free hitting, would I get Kane? No, I'd get Ali.
You'd get Ali? Okay, why?
Ali is the sort of player who, and I don't have any stats for you to back this up, it's just me. But Ali is the sort of player that in those games, Kane might get a penalty, score a goal, but Ali will be the one. I guarantee that guy plays well over the next 2 games. I guarantee it.
I thought Ali did all right for England the other night, actually.
He was fine for England, and we did ask, didn't we, that he didn't play the full 90 minutes because he's still recovering. So that's why he was pulled at 60-something, wasn't he? So there was a request from Spurs not to over-egg Dele Alli.
Okay, and Varun is saying, well, why not Heung-min Son as well? We've just gone for Ali and Eriksen. Why not Son?
Because Son's in Korea again, isn't he? Playing...
Is he travelled again?
Yeah. Played 90 minutes, captained them, did really well again. But for me, the guy, he needs a break. He's stopped going on these international jollies.
And I think his form has dipped because of that in recent weeks, right? So, listen, we need to move on from Spurs. My view on it is that I'll be having one Spurs player. I think it's absolutely worth having a Spurs player. I think you should have one. I'm still not convinced that I want to go all out 12.5 on Kane. That's a lot of money for someone that I'm not going to captain.
I agree.
In the same way, I feel the same about Hazard, by the way. Nevertheless, I do have the money. So if I wanted Kane, I could absolutely do it. I'm also, as I mentioned before, waiting for Lukaku news, because if Lukaku is fit, I do fancy him as a bit of a differential as well. He's owned by virtually nobody. But I agree with you on Ali. I'm not sure about Eriksen. I think Eriksen is fatiguing a little bit. I got the feeling that he is coming to the end of his... I just think that he's played a lot of football this year.
I thought you were going to say he's coming to the end of his Spurs life.
No, he's not. No, not at all. No, he's absolutely sticking around, I expect. But I think he's...
I don't know if he is.
You think he might go, do you? All right, well, listen, more on that as it evolves. You started a rumour there. But so Eriksen,
sadly,
I think, is starting to sit a bit deeper naturally, because he's a bit more knackered, and he's doing... he's being a bit more creative as a quarterback, but not as much dynamism going forward. Whereas Ali, I think, has been injured, a bit in and out of the team, hasn't played as much football, and because of that, I think the England games actually will benefit him. I think they're benefiting, getting him back up to speed.
I'm pleased that's why he's gone.
If he plays 60 minutes against the Czechs, and if he plays the same against Montenegro, that's good for him, I think. That's good. That brings him back. That gives him some momentum. I actually think if he got a goal against Montenegro, a lot of people would start to look at him for their free hit teams.
I agree with you.
Because that would show that he's not only getting back up to speed, but he's got his eye for goal back in.
Sure.
If he blanks against if he doesn't get anything against Montenegro, I think he'd still be considered, but perhaps not by the masses.
I think if you're in the top 50k or somewhere that you're happy with and you want to hold position, then Delhi is unnecessary in a free hit team. But if you are like Lee and you want to gain momentum, then Ali is a really good option.
Okay. All right. Well, plenty more to be discussed over on our Twitter at FPL Family, on Instagram at FPL Family as well. We'll be talking about Spurs, Man City and Man United a lot, I suspect, over the next week or so. Another team that's getting a lot of airtime on Twitter right now is Chelsea. So Chelsea with arguably, I wouldn't say they're the best fixtures because I think that's City, but a close second in terms of the fixtures on paper.
Chelsea.
Is Chelsea, right? So Chelsea have got to travel to Cardiff on Sunday the 31st of March, on that Mother's Day before the FPL Family Derby. And then they play Brighton at home. Brighton, who are, not just awful away from home, but again, will have one eye on a cup semi-final. So... again, fixtures-wise, you have to be looking at Chelsea. Despite the form, who would you consider? Have you got any Chelsea in your team right now? You haven't. So if you want a free hit, what do you think about Hazard and what about the? So let's do this in two ways, because I think there's some discussion to be had around the Chelsea defence. Chelsea attack, I don't think there's any discussion. I think you either have Hazard or you don't. And I don't think the double up is on. Do you?
No. So I might attack. Right, I'll be brutally honest with you here with Hazard. I think the only reason, if I was free hitting, the only reason I would get Hazard is for the same reason I got Salah last time when I was free hitting. It's fear of not having him.
Sure.
So I don't think you get Hazard because you think... So I didn't get Salah because I thought I really need Salah in my free hit team. I got Salah because his percentage ownership scared me enough that I thought if he does anything and I don't have him... given that he'll be most people's captain as well, that is going to throw me. For me, it feels the same with Hazard. You get Hazard on the basis that you are worried about ownership and you're worried about him doing something when you don't own him. There's nothing from him of late, the eye test, the statistics, nothing that makes me think he's a must-have in this game.
Except for 2 virtuoso performances for Belgium in the last 10 days.
But it's totally different.
I know.
He's playing with a Belgium team that, look at them. They are quality. Belgium are a quality team. Chelsea at the moment are a shower of. Sarri, what is happening with Sarri? They're talking about firing him. They can't sign anybody in the summer because...
But he is nevertheless a shield pick, though, right?
Oh,
if you're going to put him in, as Aaron Chen is saying, he is a shield pick. He's 29.4% owned, I've just seen in the game.
That's exactly what I'm saying, isn't it?
So if you don't have him, he isn't one of these players that... I've been talking about, not many people have they're playing their free hits. So if there's a popular free hit player that isn't necessarily in a lot of players' teams, then, do you really need to pick him? But Hazard is a bit of a shield pick against everybody, 100%. Right? 29% owned. So,
and for me, that's the only reason you get Hazard in a free hit team.
Yeah, I think Dom J has summed that up really nicely there. Hazard's either going to get 25 points or 5, isn't he? It's 25 points or 5. You just don't know.
No.
You just don't know. He does feel very much like a shield pick. Let's go to the live chat. Let's get some comments from you guys. Go on.
I just want to you're talking about these two fixtures. Well, yeah, but you look at Cardiff and you look at Brighton. Both of them need the points. Brighton cannot just switch off the league because of the cup. They can't. They'll get relegated. They're in that battle at the bottom.
And also, I put a tweet out there the other day about, and it was a somewhat thought-provoking tweet. Put it out there.
God, you've not started it again, have you?
I just put a bit of an unpopular opinion out there just to see what people would say.
You've not blocked people, have you?
Oh, there's been some blockage.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, there's been some blockage.
Why do you do this?
Because people are blockable. Trust me, people are blockable. But I put a tweet out there, and I'm pretty sure people would have blocked me on the back of it, saying that I thought Cardiff might beat Chelsea.
But they have to
on
win.
Sunday. So Cardiff desperately need the points.
Yeah, and Brighton.
Chelsea out of form.
Yeah.
A lot of Chelsea's players coming back from the international break. Cardiff players are not, on the whole. And Sarri is still in charge, so therefore Chelsea are guff.
Yeah.
So thoughts on that? I mean, have I lost my head there, or is there some thought that actually Cardiff could not only give Chelsea a game, they could beat them on Sunday?
I think there's something that says that Brighton can beat them as well.
You see, I'm not with you on that. I don't think Brighton have got open L's chance going to Stamford Bridge.
Brighton will get. If you look at the league table, Brighton aren't. They'll be sucked back into it if they're not careful.
I know, but they're so bad away from home.
But they have to start winning, and they need some momentum into that cup. They're just there's so much going on for them at the moment that for me, Brighton, Cardiff, those fixtures, those are the teams. If I was free hitting and I wanted to gain some points, it's teams like Brighton and Cardiff that I would look at. Games that. Maybe not Cardiff, actually, because they've got City as their other game. But Brighton...
You can't pick Cardiff players.
But Brighton, they've got a game against Southampton, they've got a game against Chelsea. Most people will rule out Brighton on the basis that they've got to play Chelsea. But I don't see anything from Chelsea that tells me that Brighton can't go and get something from that game. Just look at Wolves. I know Wolves are a better side than Brighton. Okay. But there's been plenty of teams that have gone to Stamford Bridge this season and got something. So for me...
Oh, goodness me. I can't believe you're backing Brighton at Stamford Bridge.
I'm not saying they're going to win the game.
That's a brave shout.
I'm not saying they're going to win the game. But Brighton have to start getting some points. They can't Sure. And so for me, they could take a point off Chelsea.
Okay. Well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that one. I think it's the other fixture that's more difficult. Going away to Cardiff. If you look at Chelsea's away form now, it is awful.
Apart from Fulham,
I know they got smashed by City and somebody else.
Bournemouth
4-0, wasn't it? They won at Fulham, but only just 2-1. Fulham played pretty well. Whatever it is, I remember putting a tweet out there saying that their aggregate score over the last 5 games away from home is 15-2, and that 2 came against Fulham. So at the other 4 games, they've lost them all to 0. So their away form is bad, and I think if you go back to what we've said on previous live streams about the feel in the camp right now, and the fact that there's not a lot of good feeling about Sarri and the Chelsea camp right now, when teams travel away, you need a good feeling. You need team spirit on the bus. You need team spirit on the plane. You need team spirit on the coach, in the cars, whatever. I don't feel like Chelsea have that right now. And because of that, is that making their away trips a bit of a drag?
Well, for sure. And now they've had their haven't they, rebuffed by UEFA, like their ban.
There's all that going on in the background as well.
The appeal's been turned down. Yeah. So that means they're banned in the summer from signing anybody. There's a real risk that Hazard's going to be sold. So I just think there's so much animosity and so many issues in that Chelsea camp that for me, I wouldn't risk a Chelsea player on the basis that who knows what Chelsea's going to turn up. Like, we can sit here and say all of this, and then the decent Chelsea that we know, they've got great players there. They can turn up and play really well. I just don't know which Chelsea's going to show up, and I don't know which Hazard we're going to get.
All right, well, let's have a look at the live chat. I think Chelsea is one of the key talking points for this game week 30. So I honestly do. I think 3 City is, definitely. And if you want to go 2 attack, 1 defence, or the other way around, all good picks. For 3 Man United, good picks. Couple of Spurs, 1 or 2 Spurs, yes, definitely. Chelsea, I think there's a lot of discussion, a real lot of discussion. It's a real form versus fixture conundrum, isn't it? The fixture's great, but the form is really, really not very good. Let's see what you guys are saying. Neil Craston, Chelsea are going to be recalling all of their loanees next summer. They could well be. They could well be.
They've got about 55 of them, so that'd be fine.
Could well be, absolutely. Notorious Nerd, thank you for joining. He's saying Giroud will replace Higuain, so look out for that.
Happen.
Look out for that. Higuain, not exactly in form. every time Giroud plays, I must admit,
Well, Giroud's been
looks
playing
half decent, doesn't he?
Giroud's been playing in Europe, and they're doing a lot better in Europe than they are in the league.
Yeah, and Hazard seems to play better with Giroud, so look out for that. If you're punting on Higuain, which Spencer Lee is saying that he's going to be doing, very, very interesting. Jim B, Higuain, question mark. Yeah, not for me, Jim. Not
showing
for me.
enough for me. There's too many other good players in that attacking position on doubles.
Yes, I would tend to agree with you, yeah. Let's see. Josh Telling is saying Bamba is out for the season, so that is absolutely something we need to think about. Bamba is, I would say, I was going to say arguably, but I think I would say undoubtedly Cardiff's best defender this season. Out for the season. I don't know what the injury is, but bad injury. I think it's a ligament. Yeah. So he's done for the season. So is that going to benefit the teams that go and play Cardiff at the Cardiff City Stadium, or that Cardiff travel to? Well, possibly.
Well, for sure, it could do.
And Bamba's one of those big, bulky, heavy defenders that would probably play quite well against a Higuain or a Giroud. So without him, how are they going to get on? And let's be honest, I've sat here and said that that's going to be a difficult game for Chelsea for a lot of reasons to do with how bad Chelsea are. But let's not forget, I know Cardiff are fighting for points, but they're fighting for points for a reason. Leaky as hell, and they are not a good Premier League side. Probably won't be a Premier League side next year, let's face it.
And we said already, Chelsea should win both of these games. They should win comfortably against Cardiff. They should win comfortably against Brighton. I just don't know which Chelsea team we're going to get. Okay,
Russia was saying Kepa, Azpilicueta and Hazard in my team. So very quickly, because we're on 55 minutes already and we've got to talk about free hit teams. Defenders then. Do you fancy Kepa, Azpilicueta? I'm not sure about the double up, are you?
One. If you're going to do it, do one.
Yeah, both of those teams could struggle to score though, don't you think? Not really prolific, either of them.
No.
I think I would, if I was going to go...
But 3 Chelsea in the form that they're in feels too much.
I know, but if I was going for 3 Chelsea, in the way that Russia is there, that's how I'd do it. I don't think I'd go 2 attack and 1 defence. I think I would go 2 defenders and 1 attacker, and that attacker would probably be Hazard.
But be warned, if you get Kepa in, you can never take him out.
Why?
Because you don't leave the pitch.
God, you've descended into chaos, Sam from FPL Family.
But what about, if we're going to talk about Chelsea defenders, there's Rudiger. I think he's a good option.
Why do you think Rudiger's a good option?
Bit cheaper.
Okay, yeah.
Enabling. I think really, this free hit, if you're free hitting this week, probably you're talking about keeping cheaper at the back so that you can afford all these big hitters that we've been talking about, the likes of Sterling and Aguero and all those others. So,
and we haven't talked about Luiz either. I mean, we've got to talk about Luiz.
Just not Alonso would be my point.
Definitely not Alonso, no. And I don't think Emerson either, on the basis that, Alonso might get a look in back in the side. But so I think for me it would be between Azpilicueta and Luiz, both of whom are, I think Luiz is a bit cheaper. Not Rudiger, no, I don't see much in Rudiger. Luiz has got an assist in him. We've seen it pretty in previous weeks. He likes to pops a little ball through to Kante and players of the like, doesn't he? So Luiz I quite like. But Azpilicueta, for a surety of starts, not only is he, I think, captain at the moment, right?
He is, yeah.
But also I think I saw something that says he's played more or less every minute in the Premier League this season, if not every minute. So pretty nailed on for starts against teams that are not exactly prolific. I know he's a bit more expensive, but for me, Dave looks like the one. He looks like the one, Azpilicueta, for me. What else do you want to talk about? I mean, we could go on forever talking about this. I think we've covered the main 4 teams. Anything else in that fixture list that you think, actually, no one is talking about that, and we should be? What about Arsenal at home to Newcastle very quickly? You think there's an Aubameyang or a Lacazette in there if you're not free hitting?
I said something the other week about how, for me, this is the one thing I'm wary of. My point was mostly about Mane, actually, but I also have Iwobi. Now, all right, Iwobi's not Aubameyang. However, you do have to be wary of the single club teams, single game week teams who have decent fixtures. Now, obviously, Arsenal at home to Newcastle. We know that Arsenal love to score goals, so I wouldn't be afraid if I wasn't free hitting. I don't feel like you need to spend points necessarily to bring in somebody that's playing 2 games for somebody that's got a single game week, as long as that single game week is against a decent side. So for me, an Arsenal player against Newcastle doesn't feel that bad. I'm not sure I'd get one if I was free hitting. I think if I was free hitting, I would go for full out doublers. But if I wasn't free hitting, which, let's be honest with the statistics, the majority of the game aren't, I don't think you necessarily need to spend points to get doubles for every position. I think people like Aubameyang or the other Arsenal players, even the defenders who don't defend but attack.
Kolasinac maybe.
there's nothing wrong with playing them in that game for me.
Okay.
Same. You could take Rondon as well as an example of that. Arsenal can't defend. You could play Rondon.
Let's talk about a couple of players specifically then, and we're going a bit over time here, but we've got to cover this. The guys in the chat are talking about Jimenez. They're talking about Batshuayi. Both good picks, I think. If you're free hitting, both good picks for the double game week.
Yeah, I agree.
I must admit, at the moment I'm siding towards Batshuayi, and that feels so wrong because of the season we've had with Jimenez. It feels wrong to get off of Jimenez towards Batshuayi, but one is, I think it's a reasonable, I'm chasing sort of gamble to play, and I think Batshuayi is playing reasonable for Belgium right now.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I'm a bit frightened of this Wolves rotation, right? I think of all of the teams that are left in the FA Cup, I think Wolves will fancy it. I mean, absolutely, Watford will be a very, very difficult game for them to get through, but I just get this feel from Wolves that they are fully focused on winning this cup. And again, against Burnley, Burnley a bit hit and miss defensively, but Wolves like to play on the counter-attack. Burnley is not the sort of side that are going to allow you to counter-attack. We saw that when Leicester went there a couple of weeks ago. So I don't foresee necessarily that the likes of Jota and Jimenez are going to be getting right in behind that Burnley side. They're not that sort of side. And then you talk about Manchester United at home. Now listen, Man United are out of the cup now. They, of course, will have Europe to think about. But United are a really good side. It's a state in the flipping office. But Man United are a really good side. So United travelling to Molineux at a time when Wolves will be thinking about other things.
Yeah.
We're all talking about getting Lukaku, Rashford and Lindelof and anybody else at the back. Maybe there's a part of us that should, or there's certainly a part of me that says, well, Doherty and Jimenez are probably going to go. Because in my free hit team, I want as many players that I know are going to be, or I think are going to be, playing 180 minutes of this game week as possible. And right now, I don't think that Doherty and Jimenez look like they could be.
No. So Doherty, I totally agree with you on the Doherty thing. I think there is a very, very good chance that Doherty gets a rest in one of those games. But with Wolves and Watford, let's bracket Watford into this conversation at the same time with players like Deulofeu, because I actually think Deulofeu is a really good pick as well. So if you take Jimenez and Deulofeu, neither of those teams wants to go into that FA Cup semi-final on a losing streak. Both teams doing well at the moment. Both, particularly Wolves, momentum is really good with Wolves at the moment. They're not going to just go, all right, everyone gets a rest and lose 2 games.
Momentum is key.
The momentum's going to, it will kill it. And at the moment, everything about Wolves this season is building and building and building. And that's why it's going so well. And what we have seen with Jimenez before is that when he has had a rest, he's come on during the game. Same happened with Doherty during the games where he's been rested, he's come on. Now, all right, that's not ideal in a double game week. However, the likelihood is that they both start in one of them.
And he can do it in any game. Jimenez can do it in any game. We've seen that, right?
I just think it's
United at home, whatever, he can score.
I think with the defensive options, with Doherty, if you were free hitting, yes, I'll buy into that. I'll buy into the losing Doherty as a free hit option.
Sure.
But Jimenez, I'm afraid I have to disagree with you.
Okay. No, I must admit, he is still in my free hit team as it stands. I'm very much thinking about either moving him out for somebody like, some non-playing Quanar or something, just to free up some cash for other players, or moving him sideways to Batshuayi. I'm absolutely considering
And the other thing is you have to look at Wolves' returns against the Big Six. They've got to play Man United. It's not an easy game, of course. However, their results against the Big Six this season are fantastic.
Absolutely.
So there's no reason to suggest that Wolves can't get something out of that game, as they did last week in the FA Cup.
Of course. All right, well, listen, loads more to discuss, as we know, but we have to move on. We have to look at a couple things before we go. We have to look at my free hit team, and I'll tell you about the transfers that I'm considering, which is here. I'm also going to give a Manager of the Month March update for the patrons that are in the Manager of the Month for March, because we've got only one more game week 32, before we find out who's won March's Manager of the Month. Absolutely, because game week 33 is April. Starts in April.
Of course.
So one more week to go in that.
I forgot it was the end of the month this weekend. Wow.
Yes, absolutely. So only one more game week to go in that. So we'll talk about that in a second. Here's my free hit team as it stands, guys. I must admit, this is still very much work in progress. I feel like I'm getting towards where I might want to be. But like I say, plenty more to go. I would say, those 3 City players there look pretty locked in. I would say certainly Sterling, Aguero locked in. David Silva looking pretty locked in as well. Hopefully you can see that. Can you see that okay?
I can.
You can. So those 3 I think are pretty locked in. unless I need to unlock 1 million out of silver and I'll get the other silver, potentially, if I really need that million somewhere. Pogba is pretty much locked. Schlupp is locked as well, strangely. I do fancy Jeffrey Schlupp to do quite well. He's 4.5 in the game. I think of all of the Palace,
him as well, funnily enough.
I think of all the Palace defenders, I actually think Patrick Van Aanholt could do well. I also think Wan-Bissaka's a good pick.
And also,
either way,
let's also remember that playing against Spurs in their new stadium is going to be a boost for Palace as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's that to consider. Azpilicueta, despite being a bit expensive, looks like he's pretty nailed on. We've already had the Chelsea defensive discussion, haven't we? And David De Gea, amongst all of the nonsense about Lindelof's baby and small in rotation and Luke Shaw yellow cards, if you want into the United defence, I just kind of felt, well, isn't
babies?
De Gea's going to.
What's wrong with these people?
De Gea's going to be there,
Don't they know this is quite an important part of the season?
Yeah,
what's he doing of?
Absolutely.
Is he getting her pregnant?
But after that, guys, it starts to get a bit confusing, and you can see in the middle there. That's something that I toyed with today in terms of I could do that, and it would leave me about 0.2 or 3 in the bank. It would go against kind of what I've been talking about at the beginning of, once Game Week 31 was out the way and I started planning for my free hit. I was all about differentials, I was like, I want to be as different as possible. And I said as much in the Ohana podcast. I was like, just all diffs. And I was sort of building towards that. And then, like I say, I saw this tweet and I saw a few comments about it. I just thought, actually, it could be... Oh, my battery's running low. Let me just plug the battery in, guys.
This is unusual. I don't normally get left to on my own.
Well, it's because I didn't plug the battery before we started.
Hang on.
There we go. Beautiful.
It's okay. We're plugged... Oh!
We could have just gone straight away.
Can you imagine? We'd go with no polls or anything.
I know. So that's where I am with it. And like I say, I had this feel that actually I'm being too different, unnecessarily different. And do I want to stick a bit more?
With that team, you think you're unnecessarily different?
Well, I was working towards Batshuayi coming in and loads. I was working towards differentials, and I was thinking about Diego Dallo and people like that. Right?
Wow, that is
really
different. I like that free hit team.
It's fine, but then today I've realised that I can do this here, and I can get Kane and Hazard in. Now, if I do that, it means I've got to go double Brighton defence because you'd have to suck some of that money out of the defence, and in doing so, that would mean I'd go De Gea to Ryan, which I don't really want to do. It would mean going from Trent to Dunk, which I'm fine with because Dunk's on a double and Trent isn't, and he's against Spurs. It would mean upgrading Rashford to Kane. Ali could become Hazard, and my formation would change because I'd effectively bring in Quaynor as a non-playing bench player. So I'd get rid of Jimenez and put Quaynor in. So rather than playing 4-3-3, I'd probably go 3-4-3. I'd go 3-5 maybe, 2. And 2. I can't figure it out, guys. But that was in my thinking today.
I'm not
where
sure
I could get Kane and Hazard.
Just against Spurs. One game against Spurs.
No, he's absolutely one that's going to make weight. But right now, I'm looking at it.
Other than that, it looks quite good to me.
I was looking at it and thinking, well, which other defenders do I fancy? I can't go City because I'm maxed. I've got David De Gea in there already, and the rest is a bit of a minefield for United, in my opinion. Ashley Young I actually considered as well, potentially.
Yeah.
I don't want to double on Crystal Palace. I'm happy with Schlupp. I've got my one Chelsea in there, and we've already mentioned about the virtues of doubling or trebling on on Chelsea.
Watford?
Yeah, potentially. Have looked at some in there. But so, like I say, this is all to be discussed. But at the minute, here's where my mind is at. My mind is at. I've got the core, I think, settled. The question for me right now over the next couple of days in terms of evolution of my free hit team is, do I want to suck some of the money out of some of the higher end players like De Gea, like Jimenez, and stick in some bench fodder with a view to getting some other big hitters in there like Kane and Hazard? That's what those transfers in the middle are designed to do, is to get Kane and Hazard. Hazard as a shield pick, largely.
Like I did with Salah.
Like you did with Salah.
Backfired, didn't it?
I know, but this is FPL, anything can happen. But then Kane as a bit more of a sword pick.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think he's not quite as highly owned.
No, for sure.
So that's where it is, guys. That's where it is. Plenty more to be discussed on the free hit, I suspect, over the coming weeks. Thoughts on that? Are you nervous about the triple up on City, or worried about how I might make up 160 odd places on you? That's not going to happen, is it? I've given up on that, by the way.
No, I'm not. So I was worried about the City thing until I saw that stat about the number of people that are free hitting, and then that makes me go, well, there's not that many people that are therefore going to have 3 City going into this game week if there's not many free hitters playing the game week. And the treble captain on Sterling, as long as, please God, let him come through the England game tomorrow, okay? Should, if he continues to play in the form that he has been, that should combat it. Because I do think Sterling will start in both those games. I don't think he'll finish both those games, but I think he'll start in both those games.
I mean, one of the problems here, and I think Andrew Yee is saying that I would probably be playing either Connolly or Hudson-Odoi, right? So I have those two, clearly playing Hudson-Odoi. Could get game time, but wouldn't necessarily say he is a great pick for the free hit. So yeah, lots to be done on this yet. And let's see. Plenty of time to go. Plenty of time to discuss it. Let's look at our March Manager of the Month update. So here's where we are with March.
Hello, I'm on that list.
You are on it, Sam from FPL Family. You are on. You are sixth right now. Can't win, I'm afraid.
No, we know.
You can come first, but you can't win.
I can take the glory.
You can take the glory, yes, but you cannot take the prize. And also, I'm not going to interview you on Skype on the live stream because that would just be weird. Get like some weird Inception style loop going on.
I'll just get up for that bit and go sit over there, and you can interview me from the playroom or something.
So here's where we are, guys. Gareth Edser is leading the way. Very, very good, Gareth, with 58 last game week. Which, let's cast your mind back to game week 31 if you want to, guys. If you don't want to, I wouldn't blame you. But 58 was a flipping good score for that game week. Keith is coming in at second, 177 points. Very much still in the game, only 11 points behind. Kevin Huntley then only 5 back from him. Gareth 1 behind Kevin on 171. Scott in at 5, then you, then Mark, then Joe Finley Badder. So
what would be really interesting
is to know
whether those guys those guys on the list, whether I think most of the guys in the Slack are free hitting this week, and there's only a couple of us that aren't. So that will make it a really interesting game week in terms of if there is people in there that have no chips left. How is that game week going to go for them? And then what's going to be the difference between the free hitters and the triple captainers this week?
Absolutely, yes. All to play for. Absolutely all to play for. Just in case you are new to FPL Family, if you're new around here, it's your first live stream, then thank you for joining. Please hit that subscribe button. But if you're new, we do run a Manager of the Month on our Patreon site. So head over to patreon.com/FPL Family. You can get involved and support us on a monthly basis with either $5 or $3, depending on how you want to do it and what you want to be involved in. The Manager of the Month tier is the $5 tier, and we have some cool prizes. So this month, the winner will win £100 worth of vouchers for kitbag.com. So you can go on there and buy whatever shirt you want and have a bit of spare change left over for some other bits and pieces, no doubt. But we also, for every Manager of the Month, give you the opportunity to Skype onto the show. So
we had Frank, didn't we?
So we had Frank Verlinden on, who was our February Manager of the Month, and he was talking about how well he was doing and his best players of the season, all that sort of stuff. Frankly, whatever you want to talk about, that's your time to shine.
Brilliant.
You tell us the agenda, right? So we had Frank on.
It was brilliant. I really enjoyed it.
And it was really, really good. Now that I've figured out how the Skype thing works, we can actually get Managers of the Month on. So one of the 7 managers up there, or it won't be you, one of the 7 managers, not the 8 that are up there, will probably, unless somebody comes from from 9th or below and comes storming up with an amazing free hit team or something, which is possible, one of those managers on there is probably going to make a bit of an appearance on an FPL Family live stream, which would be pretty awesome. Right?
It'd be interesting if it's Joe, because can he multitask? Can he mod and appear at the same time?
Absolutely, yeah. Who knows?
We'll be testing Joe's abilities.
We'll absolutely find out. So guys, just before we go, we're going to have a look at the polls. So let's get into those. And I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to go back to So slick, isn't it? I'm just getting slicker and slicker at this, Sam. Unbelievable.
Well, you didn't plug the computer in today.
I didn't even plug the bloody thing in. You're absolutely right. Game week 32, free hit, Man City. What would you do if you want a free hit? Attack, 3 attackers, 2 attackers and a defender, 2 defenders and an attacker, or some other strategy altogether if you were free hitting.
If I was free hitting, I would go 3 attackers.
All out attack. Only 24% agree with you. Okay. Most would be going 2 attack and 1 defender. 71% of you guys are saying 2 attack and 1 defender.
Most people are going to go Edison, I think.
I think so, because of,
rotation
surety of starts, right?
But he is a troll. Be warned.
You have been warned. Sam has warned you. 2 defenders and 1 attacker gets no love whatsoever. Some other strategy gets 3%. So it is largely split between either all-out attack or 2 attack and 1 defender. And 71% of you going with the 2 attackers, which I guess is going to be Aguero and Sterling, I guess. And then 1 defender, which is going to be either Laporte or Edison. I think is going to be the popular ones. Kane in, yes or no? As if we even need to ask. Let's say yes. Only 20% saying Kane in. 79% saying no to Kane, which given Spurs got the new stadium, Palace at home, he's the sort of man that will want to score in that game. I'll think about that one, guys. But only 20% of you saying yes. Very, very interesting. Hazard in, on the other hand. Hazard in, terribly out of form for Chelsea. Brilliantly in form for Belgium. Hazard in, yes or no, Sam?
Are you asking me this as a free hitter or just me?
You in your current position, non-free hit?
No.
No. Okay. 10% say no. 89% Hazard in. 90% Hazard in.
I can understand it. I can totally understand it because the fixtures are great. But
goodness me, I just think he's having a whale of a time in Belgium. When he get back to Chelsea, he's going to go.
He's going to he looks around that Belgium dressing room and he's got like Vertonghen and Toby and like
the Spurs players.
And no, well, Batshuayi's not Spurs. Yeah. And like, he looks around and he's like, yeah, you lot, yeah. And then he walks back in at Chelsea. He's got Sarri there having a fag in the corner. Like, what? Seriously, he must think, what am I doing? And actually,
I think
his head,
FPL Tips is in tonight. I think Harry's in. So
I am sorry.
Come on.
And then in his head, he's just thinking, these guys can't sign anyone who I'm off to Madrid.
I'm going.
Sorry, Harry. Sorry,
Harry.
His head's totally gone. Not just turned, it's gone.
So, despite that, Sam, only
Shield
10%
pick.
agree with you. 89, 90% saying yes.
Yeah, well, these are all the people that we also said we all got Salah last week.
Gameweek 32 captain, Sterling, Aguero, Kane, Hazard or someone else. You're going for Sterling, aren't you? Okay, so 33% going Sterling. 61% saying Aguero. Little bit of love for Hazard at 4%, but then nobody going for Kane or anybody else. So
nobody going for anyone else at all.
No, that's it. Well, overwhelmingly, people going for Man City. And can you blame them?
No, you would.
Can you blame them?
You'd have to be mad not to, really.
I think you would have to be mad not to. What is it? Fulham away, Cardiff at home.
Even me. Even I'm not captaining Kane.
Unreal. Absolutely unreal. So, guys, thank you very much for joining us. In what is, we've got a little bit of time before the next game. We come at least a week to go. But, with my work schedule and stuff, this was pretty much the only time we could do. You will hear from us, though, later in the week if you go and follow the Fantasy Football Wives. So we're going to do, I'm going to do this. Let's have a look.
Oh, no. What? You've not queued something up, so this won't go well.
Of course it will. Have faith in me and technology. It'll be absolutely fine. So go and follow... Here we go. Sarah and Anya, the Fantasy Football Wives at FPL Wives Podcast. If you guys don't follow them already, they do a weekly podcast. Two wives that met serendipitously, if that's the right word. I think they've got other halves that support rival teams.
Spurs and Arsenal, Man United and Man City.
I think it is.
I think it's Spurs and Arsenal, Man United and Man City.
Is it? Okay, well, to be explored later in the week. But we will be recording a podcast with the Fantasy Football Wives on Wednesday of this week. You and I will be talking to them on Wednesday. I think they're going to...
Before the divorce on Sunday.
Before the FPL Family Derby on Sunday. And they will be looking to get that podcast out, I would guess, before the game week, either on Thursday or Friday. So go and check out at FPL Wives Podcast. Go give them a follow. We will be on there Thursday or Friday. Look out for the links. I will obviously tweet the links so you can get the podcast, I think, anywhere that you get your podcast. Spotify, Acast, SoundCloud, whatever. Get onto your favourite podcast provider and get on to the Fantasy Football Wives. We will also be back for our patrons with our own podcast, another Ohana podcast on Friday, where I guess I'll be talking about my final-ish.
It's you again, is it?
Well, free hit team. So, maybe we'll do it together. But my free hit team
when are we going
to
to have time to do it together? We're not together at this week.
As soon as I said that, I thought, well, probably going to be quite difficult to do that.
I'm going to look forward to listening to you in a hungover state on Friday doing Ohana.
Yeah, just thought that.
Nobody good's going to come in. Don't FPL and drink.
Don't drink an FPL on Thursday night.
Don't do it.
I'm on a free hit. I can do what I want.
No, because you can't get these players back if you spend your budget on them.
The problem is, I'm also out with a bunch of people in my work that we're in a mini league, and it's proper they'll be looking for some tips and stuff.
Don't give them any.
So I'll ask them to call you.
Get them to call me. I'll give them some proper tips. No, I don't do that. I don't want phone calls all night.
No, it's totally right. So that is it, guys. Thank you for joining us and for sticking with us for a bumper edition, actually. I don't know what time we're on. Maybe we're on like an hour and 10 or something. Maybe even longer. Something like that. But lots to talk about. Yeah, we
need a new cup.
Put the kettle back on. Lots to discuss this game week. So keep following us at FPL Family on Twitter, at FPL Family on Instagram, and indeed on the Facebook. Go and check out our patreon.com/FPL Family if you want to support us. Hit that like button before you go. Share, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we will see you on the other side of Game Week... mid Game Week 32,
well, we might. We might.
This time next week, we will be back.
We might.
Depending on the score. If you beat us, I will be devastated.
Whatever happens, unless it's a draw and then we'll both be pretty miserable, one of us is not going to be in a good mood.
Yes, join us next Sunday because at least one of us will be miserable, if not two.
I might cry again.
Get emotional. What was all that about earlier?
I'm going to go, when I'm at Spurs, I'm going to come to you live on Instagram from the new
emotionally?
stadium.
Oh, the new stadium's amazing.
With my Balti pie.
Good Lord. On that bombshell, guys, we will see you this time next week if we are still here and together and not divorced. Thank you for joining us this evening. Share, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Bye, guys. Take care.